what leadership comes out of that, what leadership lesson comes out of that is, you don't have control over everything. You can prepare as best you can, and then sometimes there's a change, and you have to push through, and you have to continue to fight and you have to find the real finish line, wherever it is.
It's consistency before intensity, right? So it's the consistency before intensity will always get you there.
For me, I think as leaders that we sometimes forget that we don't have to do it all alone, right? Surround yourself around people that can help you.
Hey, Uncommon Leaders, welcome back. This is the Uncommon Leader Podcast, and I'm your host, John Gallagher. And I've got a great conversation today, something different than I've done before. I've got a group of guys, my brothers in faith, my friends, my Raise the Average accountability group members on a call here to talk about a recent race, about a recent journey we've been on. We've done our first two Spartan races, and we just finished one up about a week ago. And I wanted them to get back together to really talk about that experience and what started out ultimately as a conversation for us in terms of saying, hey, we need to figure out how to do something hard, has turned into a quest for a Spartan trifecta. So we'll talk about what that means in terms of setting us up for the next one as well. But ultimately, when this is the Uncommon Leader Podcast, it's about working with leaders and just like these guys who are working through life on a daily basis to get better, either in their personal fitness, in their homes, in their communities, or at their workplaces, ultimately choosing to do things that are a little bit hard. And while it may be about the medal, which are really kind of cool as we go through this conversation, it's really about a greater purpose for us. For me, something about being able to look down the road, especially from a health standpoint, and be able to do stuff with grandchildren as we go forward, and making sure that we're available for our families for a longer time than we thought. So, guys, Dave Campbell, Jeff Adams, Kevin Gallagher, welcome to the Uncommon Leader Podcast. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Doing great, brother.
Yeah.
Doing good, John.
Yeah, we've recovered okay, I think. After a few days, we talked about that afterwards in terms of what some of the pain was to after a 5K event that we may have thought that was going to be a little bit easier than the first one, and didn't necessarily turn out that way. But let's just jump in the conversation. We're going to have a lot of fun with this, and I'm going to start off with Dave, and I'm going to move my way around, and you guys can add in as we go forward. I just want it to be a fun conversation. But Dave, this thing goes all the way back, really. I mean, the RTA group goes back a few years, but the conversation of getting involved in the Spartan race stemmed from one of our regular phone calls, RTA group phone calls, and we said, we're doing this kind of training, but we don't have anything really to shoot for, and we need to try something hard. And it ended up being, I did an internet search and came up with Spartan Race, and it was like, for some reason, in 5 minutes, we kind of said, yep, let's do it. We're in. Let's go and make it happen. As you thought about that on that journey, as you think about that, how it impacts you as a leader and doing hard stuff, what comes to mind as you look at the journey we've been on really for the last 10 months, specifically in the Spartan world?
So for me, John, the biggest or most learning I've gotten from it is that it helps me take on things that I didn't think I could do before. I think doing a Spartan race was so far out of my realm of possibilities, and I can't believe it's been 10 months since we started talking about this. But when you brought it up, if you remember, this came from a failed attempt to just have a weekend with the guys, right? And we couldn't get RBOs and all these things, couldn't get everything aligned. And then I remember a conversation, I think a text message, she was like, hey, let's do a Spartan race. And it just really got my wheels turning because I'd never done anything that difficult. And I thought, well, this would be a great challenge. And then I ended up having conversations with Jeff and brought it up. And he's like, hey, I've done Spartan races before. And, started looking at it. It's just an amazing challenge for us to look at and do things that I thought were impossible, right? If you'd asked me a year ago about doing a Spartan race, I would have said there's no way.
I think that is funny in terms of looking back on that. We were talking about trying to get together for a fun weekend to do fun things, more than kind of the hang out and sit around a fire and go out and have a good meal. And for some reason, we turned that into doing something difficult. And I know, Jeff came in, you came in the group just a little bit later in terms of what that was. And I'm so glad that you did. But he's like, oh yeah, this Spartan thing. I mean, you were a seasoned veteran when it came to Spartans, I guess, and what it was, and helped us out along that journey. But what was there for you, Kevin and Jeff? Were you guys ready for that as well?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say, so John, I guess I'll clarify. Are you talking about the sprint we just finished?
Yeah, the sprint and the sprint overall. Yep, the one we just
Yeah.
did.
Was I prepared? I full transparency, I think I overlooked this one a little bit. I think we just finished the super. This one is half of that, so it seemed like it shouldn't be as difficult. But this one, I don't know if it's because I'm a few years older than the last time I did it, but I had trouble recovering. And I'm just now starting to feel like some of the soreness is leaving my hips and all those things. I know we've kind of been going back and forth in that in the chat, but yeah, I overlooked it a little bit, John. I overlooked it.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that's a lesson in life as well. Kevin, where's that lesson for you in terms of thinking something might be a little bit easier because we did something hard already, and it doesn't turn out that way?
Oh yeah, I definitely thought I was going to breeze through this. And I ran it with Melissa, so the biggest push for her, I just was to keep moving, and I didn't think it would be as crazy as it was. But when you throw a 60-pound sandbag on your shoulder, and that course was really hilly, my hips are just recovering. Like last night, I was stretching, and it was the first time that my hips didn't hurt since Sunday morning.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting the hills to be nearly as gnarly as they were. And after doing the super, I don't want to say we breezed through the super, but I felt like we got through the super really, really well. We were pushing each other constantly on very little walking, constant run. And I felt we got through that one really well. But if you look at the landscape between Fayetteville and Mill Springs, woo,
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely is. The geography is a huge difference. So, yeah.
Well, again,
definitely.
I think there's so many different things in that. Again, thinking things are going to be easier than they are, maybe not prepping as much. Ultimately, like the prep going into it to understand, should we, walk? I don't want to say walk the entire next course, but certainly do a little more research on the one coming up in November as well. That's probably going to be the hardest one yet. We admit that the hardest one yet is coming out. So there are many things. Again, I still hearken this back to leadership that recognizes that, don't ease your way into a conversation. Don't ease your way into a project, whatever that is, because you think it's going to be a little easier. We're always going to run into some of those obstacles that are going to keep us from being successful. And even the discipline required to that. And here's kind of a question I'll loft out, and maybe Jeff, you take this one first. When I think about the hard stuff in terms of training, and you mentioned age as well, Jeff, you're a little bit older than you were before. So 3 of us are in the 50 plus club. A couple of us are on the closer side to even the 60 club here in the near future. Right, Dave, in terms of where we are. And then Kevin, by the time you join us in November, you'll be joining that elite club as well. As we get older, okay, as we look at what's important to us, I know we don't do this just for the medal, although it's kind of fun. And again, I think it even motivated us to get the trifecta completed. But, Jeff, what is it that keeps you inspired and motivated to do hard things like that at 50 years old or older, where some folks are actually starting to slow down and say, man, I got to take it easy?
Yeah, John, I always think about Clint Eastwood. When he was asked, how does he still do it? He said, I get up every morning and I kick the old man out, and I'll always like that. It's always just kind of resonated with me. But yeah, I mean, we have to do what we know is right to do. And, whether that's in terms of our diet, whether it's in terms of spending time with God, whether it's in terms of getting into the gym and pushing, and, it's mind over matter. And I think we have to determine what our goals are, push through. I've got a 26-year-old son. So I don't know when grandchildren are coming, but I'm sure they are. We're on vacation this week with a younger family, and they have a younger kid. And so I'm remembering the energy that's required. And then I've got a 13-year-old son who's now he wants to ride dirt bikes and all these things, and I want to be a part of that. I want to be all in. So for me, it's just about being able to physically do the things that that I want to do, and if whatever price comes to prepare for that, then I'm in. I'm willing to do it.
Amen. Dave, you are a grandfather now, man. How's that feeling for you? The Spartan race and a grandfather. How's that in a short period of time?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But I'm like Jeff, where I'm looking at this going, I want to be in such good shape in the next decade. So I read somewhere last year, I don't remember which book it was, but it was talking about thinking a decade ahead. So, I'm 56 now, and I'm really thinking, okay, what's it going to be like when I'm 66, 76? And, the ease that we all look for in life doesn't come from ease, right? It comes from the suffering and being able to intentionally suffer and push yourself to the limit and find that limit. That's the one thing that Spartan has done for me. I did a bicycle race back in 2012 that helped me find that limit, but then I forgot it and I didn't keep the discipline. And what I think the Spartan races are doing for me, or even just my fitness plan and working with the CrossFit gym, it's helping me continue to redefine those limits and find them, and maybe get a little bit injured and be sore. You guys were talking about the sore hips. I've not had my hips burn like that my entire life, that first day after this 5K. So it's kind of learning those limits, and then okay, for the race in November, what does my preparation need to look like, right? So that I can be remember. But yeah, right now it's exciting. We got a second grandkid on the way in September, so it really is about just being ready to get up and down off the floor and play with the kids and enjoy it, right? And really not be up in the stands watching. So
I love that. And your point about the hips and even the next level of preparation, I think the continuous improvement component of that, right? To sit down afterward and reflect on whether we did that formally or whether we did that informally with regards to what did we do well. I love how the Spartan community, frankly, creates that such that you can create a scorecard for yourself. There's a time that you finish. There's, again, the medals that you have that you get through, but there's also how did you do on each one of the obstacles that were out there in front of you, and they actually let you kind of check in with those things. So it gives you an improvement glide path going forward. Dave, you mentioned that why, and there was a picture of somebody quoted, and I don't know that I could have said it any better in terms of that. So that I'm exercising so I can take my son on a trip for his 50th birthday. You touched on this, Jeff. You got a 26-year-old. I've got a 28 and a 26. Kevin, your son Jack is going to be graduating here real soon. I'm exercising so that I can dance at my grandkids' weddings. And that's a pretty ugly scene, but in terms of what that really sounds like in terms of grandchildren's weddings, can be pretty powerful as a goal. I'm exercising so that they can all look after themselves in 30 years because I can still look after me. And I love that in terms of something, and just to make it fun, is that, frankly, I want to be able to get up off the toilet without having, metal bars in the bathroom to get me going there. And if I'm not prepping for that now, I don't want to have to hit a buzzer to call somebody and say, help me stand up off the toilet here. It's just kind of humiliating and not fair to the other. So I just don't want to be a nuisance to the other. So it's not just about creating bigger muscles in our arms, although that's cool and that's really fun. It's not just about trying to identify whether or not there are still abs underneath the bellies that we have, although that's really cool. And being able to fit into, smaller waist clothes and things like that, and being able to say we're in better shape now than we were at 25 years old. All those kind of things are really cool. But I love the so that exists inside of the statements that you guys are talking about. To me, that's one of the biggest parts of this, no doubt about it. We agreed to do this in part to be examples, though, for our family as well, to model what good looks like for them, and hopefully they'll pick up some of these habits that we're doing. Again, whether it's reading habits, Jeff, you talked about it, scriptural reading and being involved in reading the Bible and learning from each other there, being men of faith. Is there a moment from the race, and I'm going to quiz you a little bit, maybe I'll come to you first, Kevin, so to think about this, that you can share with your kids to teach them a lesson about leadership or discipline or, ultimately finishing what you get started?
That's really a good question, John. At the when we did the super, I felt that I missed 3 obstacles, and I've had 2 shoulder surgeries, so I have a fear for anything above my head, right? And I went into that race with that fear, and I got through the first monkey bar obstacle, and I was like, oh, I have no shoulder pain. This is fantastic. I'm not worried about this. And I thought I could muscle through the rope climb, and I just could not figure out the rope climb, and it devastated me. I don't want to say it devastated me, but it really got under my skin that I could not do the rope climb. And, I went into this race saying, I don't care what else happens, I'm doing the rope climb. And, I thought it was all about strength and everything else. And it really, I'm standing there before the race starts, and they've got the rope where you can try the climbing. And there was a gentleman there who was maybe 150 pounds. And he's like, well, you could probably muscle up, but I wouldn't suggest it. He said, it's real simple. He said, hold the rope on your foot, climp your feet, and you're going to climb. Just use your legs. You've got really big legs. Just get right up the rope. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And, I tried it a couple of times and I could not do it. And I got out on the course, and I told Melissa as we're going through the whole course, and I think that where the leadership really came in for me, with her at least, was she's getting back into her fitness journey, right? So she felt like she had to walk. And, I said, hey, listen, if you want to walk, you got 50 feet before an obstacle. We're going to run nonstop from one obstacle to the next. You can stop 50 feet before the obstacle, but you have to keep your feet at a faster pace than a walk. And if you do that, we'll get through this. You'll feel like a champion. Let's keep doing it. For myself, the leadership piece that I can bring to my kids was overcoming that rope. When I got to the rope, I still had doubt in my mind whether or not I could do it. And you're there. You were standing at the rope when I came up, which was really cool for me, because I was like, oh, somebody's going to be able to see me do this. I think I can do this. And, as I'm climbing that rope, you're cheering me on, man. And that was, it was huge. It was really huge for me. So getting over the rope, proving to myself, hey, you've got it in the tank still. And that was big for me.
Amen, brother. Face the fear and do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of, as waiting on you, that was my rest period as well, and it gave me a chance to try it again, because I was spent when I first got there, and I couldn't even get myself onto the rope. And then I saw you do it again, and that inspired me. That's the other side of it. That inspired me. I'm like, shoot, man, I got to try this thing again. And while I still didn't ring that daggone bell, I'm going to get that next time, no doubt about it. I got that shot back in. And that lesson for me ultimately was, you don't get to not try. Okay. Even if you got to rest, and even your lesson with Melissa, like, you don't get to stop and quit. Like, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep moving, and we're going to push through. And we can probably handle a lot more pain than we think we're able to. And then the last, what I heard in you as well, and that's the reason for this call right here, and the reason for our communication, is that it's your circle. Okay. Doing that on your own, as I'm deciding to do a Spartan race, I'm going to do it by myself, and I'm going to drive 4.5 hours or whatever it was, and try to eat like crazy, and just to do it for myself. Man, that's a lonely path. But having people in your life to inspire and encourage you and hold you accountable, and really, through some of those training things, to say, I could stop doing this, but I'm not going to get my hashtag number to the guys and say I did my workout today. So I gotta get this thing done. What about you guys, Jeff, Dave? Anything you want to add to that? I think that's really cool.
Yeah, one thing that jumped out at me, John, was, man, I really, throughout the race, I was looking at my watch, and it's keeping up with how far we've come, right? And I'm even saying it out loud so that others on the course can hear it, maybe be encouraged. Hey, we're 2 miles in. Man, but mile 4 of the 5K really sort of...
Yeah, right?
You know what I mean? That was longer than a 5K. And mentally, I had sort of, I'd put some sort of across the finish line a point up in my mind. And so when we were beyond that and we were still running, and I saw a lot of obstacles ahead of us still, I was like, man, this is, I've underestimated this. And I know I didn't run that many penalty laps. And then I started to sort of blame, honestly, in my mind. I was like, why would Spartan do this? Why would they treat us this way. I was trying to beat my sprint from 2022, and yeah, so for me, what leadership comes out of that, what leadership lesson comes out of that is, you don't have control over everything. You can prepare as best you can, and then sometimes there's a change, and you have to push through, and you have to continue to fight and you have to find the real finish line wherever it is, even if it's fluid.
Yeah,
We'll put it
right.
that way.
Even if it's fluid, if it's not exactly where you think it's going to be, right? No doubt about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Dave?
that was big for me.
Yeah, cool. So there's a couple things I think, Kevin touched on a little bit. That I think from a leadership standpoint, just reminding yourself that you're never too old to learn a new skill. And, I went into the first Spartan race going, I'm going to learn how to climb rope, right? And since then, even with some of the CrossFit things, learning new skills that as a 56-year-old, I had no idea how to do. I hadn't climbed a rope since I was in high school, and they had knots all the way up the rope. So it was much easier then, right? There's no knots in these ropes, and they're wet and they're muddy. So it takes a lot of training and practice to figure out how to get there. And then the other leadership lesson you guys touched on as well is just that encouragement and support. Running with you guys keeps me motivated. But then at the end, hearing Melissa talk about Kevin supporting her, that was huge, right? That's it's easy for us to tell, hey, this is what we did as a leader. But then to hear someone else talk about how they were encouraged by somebody else during the race is really huge.
She's filed divorce papers.
No, that's not what I heard, man. Like Kevin was a cheerleader. He's the plan. He was the strategist. He had the vision. You kept her going, right? You gave her something to shoot for. So
appreciate it.
Kevin made the joke, but I don't know about you guys, but when I'm running something like this, and it was the same when I was a cyclist, if someone's in front of me, whether I know them or not, they don't know it, but I'm in a race with them, right? So I remember I was with the sandbag going up the hill, and there's people around me, and I'm just talking to myself going, you can do this, you can do this. And then, oh, by the way, you got to pass this person in front of you, right? So there's a little bit of a leadership lesson where you can put yourself and create your own challenges, right? And, just keep trying harder and harder and try to.
Yeah, it's gamifying it, right? I mean, look, when we ran this first one, and that's a part of it too. When we ran the first one, the 10K, and we came across that finish line, and we got that, they hand you that medal and go forward. Like, what's this little pie piece here that's like just a partial? What is that? And they're like, oh, and Jeff, you know that you got to run all 3 races in 1 year to do that. And again, it felt like within 5 minutes, we're like, okay, when's the next one? We got to get out there and sign up for the second one so we can do all 3 of these in 1 year. Like, I would have never, without that encouragement, Dave, signed up for one of these things on my own, let alone be crazy enough to try to do 3 of them, and now maybe 4 of them in the same year in terms of making that happen. So,
and John, if I can just add something real quick, I did my first Spartan was 10 years ago. Melissa and I did it together, and I was close to 255 pounds, something like that. And yeah, and I was not a runner in any way, shape, or form. It was very ugly to look at. But one of the things that really made the race for me is while I was walking, and I'm beat, dripping, sweat, and the first one we did was in Concord, North Carolina, and had dirt and everything, of course, all over my face and my body, and I'm huffing and puffing, and I remember people running by me, and the camaraderie of it, right, and pushing me on. Hey, you got this. Just pick up your feet, man. Pick up your feet. It's 100 yards is the next obstacle, right? And without that, excuse me, it still gets me. It's crazy, man. But I try to do the same thing when I'm running it, because you see people with struggles and you want to help them through it. So yeah, sorry.
No apology, man. I appreciate sharing it in terms of understanding how you get.
We've all been on both sides of that. Somebody's encouraging me when I was carrying the bucket, and somebody's encouraging me, and then I'm doing the same thing, right? It's so you don't realize influence and impact other people just by a little bit of encouragement until you feel it yourself, right? Hear it.
Hey, Uncommon Leaders. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I believe in doing business with people you like and trust, and not just a company name. That's why a strong personal brand is essential, whether you're an entrepreneur or a leader within a company. Brand Builders Group, the folks who have been helping me refine my own personal brand, are offering a free consultation call with one of their expert brand strategists. They'll help you identify your uniqueness, craft a compelling story, and develop a step-by-step plan to elevate your impact. So head on over to CoachJohnGallagher.com/BBG, as in Brand Builders Group, to schedule your free call and take the first step toward building a personal brand that gets you noticed for all the right reasons. That's CoachJohnGallagher.com/BBG. Now, let's get back to the episode. Look, that community is amazing. It's contagious. I mean, I don't know how many total racers there were in that one. I'm going to guess there's about 3,000 people who are racing there. But then, those individuals who encourage you right at the start line, the MC who was just phenomenal to get you fired up, the music that goes along with that to get you encouraged. And again, it takes a leader's servant heart when you are able to pass somebody, and rather than just kind of chuckling at them saying, hey, you got this, come on, keep going. It's something that will help. Being an encourager is much better than kind of talking down and beating them up as you go through that journey. And again, back into our work life, it makes sense. It's a lot of the reason I do what I do with regards to executive coaching and even consulting to a certain extent. I'm trying to teach them and I'm giving them a hard time to get them there, but I'm also trying to encourage them on that journey as well, that I know that they are capable of so much more, and that unrealized potential that's in there and if they're not moving toward that, like, it's something that I want to be an encourager to them, but help them identify that blind spot to say that, look, you weren't called to be average. Okay. You weren't called to be someone who just sits on the sidelines and waits for Friday to roll around. You were called for something much bigger. And if the Spartan Race helps us from that mindset, I think that's pretty awesome. Okay. And again, I recognize that a group like what we have, whether it's as simple as each day that we text each other a book that we've done our daily reading habit, or hashtag our number with regards to what our workout was, and even talk about some of those things that were challenging, those are very simple things that are encouraging and inspiring to say, man, I can't sit on the sideline today. I got to be in the game. I got to make this happen. So I think those are great points. Look, the final race in the trifecta is the biggest race, the half marathon. 21K, Jeff, to your point, 5K that turned into a 6K or 7K in terms of how we ended up finishing it. This 21K is likely probably to turn into something around, 25 or 26K by the time we're done with it. What are each of you going to do differently to prepare for this one? What's the next level in your training and your mindset, things like that, that's going to be different? I'll start with you, Kevin.
Well, I don't know if you remember or not. I signed up for a half marathon on Sunday the 16th, and we signed up for the Spartan Race on November the 15th. And my wife reminded me while we were doing this last Spartan, she said, wait a minute, you're doing what? And I said, yeah, that's back-to-back half marathon. So I started, Garmin has this amazing coach, right? The Garmin coach. And I've been a runner for the last couple of years, but I might run 2 times a week. And I put what I wanted to do into the Garmin coach. And the Garmin coach was like, you're silly. You can't run twice a week and get ready for back-to-back half marathon. So I've already started upping my running. I'm now on a 4 to 5 days a week schedule for the running side. Of course, I'm still lifting, 4 to 5 times a week. So I would like to get a little bit better with the overhead apparatuses that they have out there, but the running piece is definitely going to be a tough part for me, just because of the back-to-back half marathons and making sure that I can recoup enough to get through the second half marathon. So yeah. So running, stretching, didn't even know what that word meant. Stretching is probably my least favorite thing to do in the entire world. But this morning at 4:30, I got up, did some stretching, and I've incorporated that into my daily activity now too, to make sure that I'm ready for this event or events. Yeah. And of course,
Excellent.
working with you guys, man. I mean, that's one of the beauties of having an accountability group like you, is that we do a fantastic job of pushing each other daily with updates on how many calories are being burned on what you're doing. So every day we send that to each other. And it's a motivator.
I love when people ask about that too. Like, what does the hashtag and the number mean? Not obviously not in our group, but I mean, other people. I'll do that for other people sometimes. Like, what does that number mean? I'm like, that's how hard that we work today, man. And that's just how we let each other know that we're committed to this and we're committed to them to make that happen.
Right.
Jeff, what about you? What's your goal for the next one? Kind of get ready for that.
John, I think about my time in the military. And I was like, why are we in the U.S. training in this sand? And they were like, hey, we train to fight because we may have to fight a war in the sand. Why did we go down into the jungles of Louisiana? And they were like, hey, there's a terrain somewhere in the world we may have to go fight there. So for me, it's going to be learning about what are we going to come against when we're against from a terrain standpoint when we're down in South Carolina in November. How can I mimic that and try to incorporate some of that into the training, into the running, because a lot of it is running. And then the upper body strength, I was a little upset in this race because, as you know, it was sort of misting rain, and when I got to the monkey bars, it turned into a penalty loop. So I was hoping that my previous races that wasn't the case. So just upper body strength, hanging, and is preparing for the terrain, and then putting in the 13.1 miles, being able to, my goal is by 2 weeks out, have a 12-mile run under my belt and just feel good about it. Yeah. So that's kind of going to be my approach.
I mean, I hate to run. I love having run when I'm done, but I hate to run. There's like nothing that I enjoy about running. I mean, it's just,
yeah, I'm with you, John. It's
other than the feeling at the end. I mean, I try to appreciate it. I try to get a mindset like, yeah, put some music on our podcast, whatever it is. I'm like, dude, it doesn't matter. Running sucks. It really does. It really does. Dave, what about you? What do you got? What do you got prepared, man?
I got a few things going. Grip strength is huge too, because I'd love to be able to do the monkey bars and not blame it on being wet. That seems to be my excuse right now. I want to get rid of that, so I am actually working on the hanging every day. But I have run too, because back to even my cycling training days, it comes down to volume, and I've never run this far in my entire life. So I've got to work up to that. So the plan I've got mapped out, just like Jeff just said, gets me at about 12 miles right before. But I also have another concern that I've got to work through, and that's really on my hydration and electrolytes, because the last two races, within the last mile, I've been getting calf cramps, right? So now I'm going, okay, I can't afford to get a DNF on this one 6-7 miles into essentially a 13-mile race, getting cramps. So I'm going to try to simulate, like Jeff said, doing the 12-mile run as I work up to that, doing some, run out 2 miles, run back to my house, hydrate again a little bit, almost similar to what we'll do in the race. So while I'm putting together that 12, 13 miles beforehand, I am going to break it up a little bit and make sure I'm hydrating and getting electrolytes in my body, and make sure that I can actually handle that. Because the last thing I want to do is get to this race in November and get a cramp 6 miles in, right? Because it's, usually you can work through the cramp, but then it's in the back of your mind, it starts eating at you, right? You're like, okay, if I do something strange, is it going to lock up again? So yeah, that's the main thing, is really getting that volume of running in for me right now.
And
so good.
Yeah.
Dave,
I was just going to say, one of the things that you might want to look at too, just because, from like when I'm running my half, I am wearing a vest with water and nutrition. Obviously it's a little grosser in the Spartan, but nutrition is definitely going to play a part, calories through the race. So those are things we need to take into consideration as well.
That's just like, it's a great point, because I see people wearing the water devices on the 5K, and I don't need water in 5K, but I sweat a lot, right? So there's no way I need to carry some additional water with electrolytes in it. At the very least, I was thinking carrying the packets and then put it in the little cups of water they give us every couple miles. So I'm going to play a little bit and try to simulate it.
Salt pills, potassium.
Yep.
Yeah,
especially
so
for the
important.
cramping.
The race nutrition and the day of and getting ready the night before. But again, fueling our body. Look, we ain't the same. We can't recover the same way we did when we were in our 20s either. That's a little bit different. We could slug a 12-pack of beer or whatever the number is and wake up in the morning and,
do whatever.
Drink another one to get the hair of the dog and then just try to get the day going again. Our bodies just don't respond to that kind of stuff. And we're probably living some of those challenges right now overall. But I think, for me, there is that nutrition component. I found myself 21K, 30 obstacles. So I'm dividing 21 by 30. Like, what's the longest, run going to be in a half marathon? And I mean, okay, I got to at least prepare for that, whether it's zone 2 training and just learning. I mean, I love the component of continuous learning. And I think about this, even again, back to the leadership, even in the day and age we're in right now, is, utilizing artificial intelligence to help us with that. Kevin, I think it was you that you put it into ChatGPT and it generated a plan for you, right? In terms of putting that together and getting ready for the race. I'm like, wow, it's just amazing what we have at our fingertips as leaders if we are willing to continuously grow. And I'm not suggesting that AI gets us through the 21K Spartan race, but as leaders, there are things we got to do that are tough, and we've always got to be on a learning journey and don't think we've arrived by any stretch of imagination so far. Just 2 more questions. Honor your time in terms of finishing this up, guys. This has been a great conversation. One fun question, and then one little help having you inspire our listeners as well in terms of what's going that we'll finish up with. I'll give you the last word. But obstacles. So we've had 2 sets of obstacles now. One race had 21. I think one had 25. So, we've had the chance to hit 46 obstacles. Some of them were repeats, some of them new. I want each of you to share the one that you wished Spartan never invented. Okay. But still how you're able to overcome that obstacle and run through it.
For me, it's the spear throw. Put some effort into the spear, man. Don't give me a garden hoe with the hoe off. Come on. I hate that thing.
It kind of reminds me that, I don't know if we'll show my age here. I don't know if you guys remember the movie Revenge of the Nerds, and they were in that decathlon or whatever against other fraternities, and they had the javelin throw, and the one guy designed one that it was flexible, and he was running with it, and it was kind of like, you got to figure out how to take our own javelin or something there to really nail that dart.
I'll take anything over the spear throw.
There you go. All right, so you got to practice the spear throw. What about you, Jeff? What's the one you hate the most?
I'm sitting here, John, trying to think of what the name of it is. It looks like something from the medieval era. It has chains and balls and holes, and you have to get your legs really high up on it. But I hate that thing. I've run 7 Spartan races. I've never conquered it. It's difficult to train for it. Like it's hard to replicate it back here. So. Yeah, that's the one I'm still angry at.
It's got a Greek name to it. I don't know if it's Olympus or something like that. It's got an odd name. I know it's one you're talking about. That was in the 10K that we did. It wasn't in the 5K, but it was in the 10K. And I bet we're going to see it in the 21K here coming up. Dave, anyone that you just dislike, you hate it?
There's none that I hate or that I wish they hadn't invented. There are a few that I wish I could do better. That Z wall, I seem to get halfway, and then that's where I got to work on the grip strength. That one's challenging for me. I keep trying to figure out if I can set something up like that in my basement.
I know, right?
So there's none that I really don't like. You know what I mean? It's like I just want to get through them all, be able to do them at some point. But that one that Jeff mentioned, that one to me, that I don't know how you replicate that. I don't know. That's some kind of, maybe it's rock climbing or something like that.
Right. Well, that's what I feel about the Z wall, because that was my answer as well. Like, I hate that Z wall. Just looking like to try and balance on a 2x4 and hold on to a 2x4 at the same time and try to keep your weight against that wall. So, I mean, like, what the heck? Who thought of something like this? But rock climbers got to do that all the time in terms of keeping themselves. Although I don't see my son Joseph, he's a rock climber, no doubt about it. But I don't see myself trying to hug the side of any cliffs, trying to climb up, or hoping that I'll never be stuck on one day. In terms of making that happen. So, what I like about what to hear too is, like, screw it, I can still hate it, but I have to do it, right? I mean, I don't have a choice necessarily. If I don't want to do the spear throw, what are my options? I can choose not to do it and still do the 30 burpees anyway. That is the penalty for that, or the 15 that I did because we teamed them up. 30 burpees may be worse than anything, man. Goodness, who invented that as a penalty?
Yeah.
But I think there's so many things again in life that we don't like, but we have to do, and we still got to get ready for. I think that's a great message, guys. It's been fun. I'm looking forward to the next one. Looking forward to the next 3 months on the development journey as well, and likely ending up in this conversation again with regards to what that feels like and probably what's in mind for us for 2026. I know Kevin's been thinking about that already, and he's thrown a couple challenges that I've ignored so far. Successfully ignored and not replied to, but I will have to eventually reply to that. But I'll wait till after the big race we got coming up here in November. Look, we're talking to leaders who are listening and really trying to learn the mindset of doing hard stuff. And going back 10 months, we never would have thought of doing something like this, and I'm so glad that we did. And so, for those that are listening in that are struggling with doing something hard and really choosing to get something better, what's an inspirational message you have for them, or what's one step they can take tomorrow or today to get going on that journey and doing something really hard? I'll throw it out. Dave, we'll start with you and then go to Jeff and Kevin, and I'll finish this out.
John, and you've heard this one before, but it's consistency before intensity, right? So it's throw that goal out there 3 months, 6 months out. Don't get caught in that trap. We got plenty of time to train, but it comes down to showing up and starting small if you have to, and then putting a plan together so that you're putting the consistency in place that can compound so you can be ready for any challenge, right? Consistency before intensity will always get you there. And so many times we've all done it, right? Where we've tried something hard that we shouldn't have done, and then we hurt ourselves, or we do some work that didn't work out because we didn't build in the discipline and the consistency first, so that we've got the skill to actually follow through. So yeah, it's always going to be consistency, right? Build that in first. I love it. And James Clear, he talks about, you want to go to the gym, even if you just drive to the gym and spend 5 minutes there, right? Start with the 5 minutes a day and get yourself to where you just start showing up. And so it starts to feel unusual when you don't do it. That's, I think, kind of the trick, right? Get that consistency built in. So
great. What about you, Jeff? Get folks going.
Yeah, I think you have to zoom out a bit. For me, I tell my team that a lot. Zoom out, plan your work, and work your plan. I think it's really big to have some milestones that are tangible that you can point to after you plan your work, and you have some sort of check-in points with the team, and you really celebrate, sort of get the momentum going. I really like what Dave was saying about the plan. Make sure that you have the plan, that the plan is scaled, that it's doable, that it's built to sort of get more intense as we go. And people have to believe, and I feel like that's a big obstacle, is getting people to start, number one, and then believe. And I think celebrating those milestones is key to helping them sort of gain that momentum.
So good, Jeff. Thank you. Kevin?
For me, I think as leaders that we sometimes forget that we don't have to do it all alone, right? Surround yourself around people that can help you. If you're struggling, reach out. You see somebody who's crazy fit. Well, they're putting work in if they're crazy fit, right? And how can if your desire is to look crazy fit, go to somebody who's crazy fit and say, do you mind helping me? Would you mentor me? How can I get down this journey? And maybe they're going to put together a plan for you, but I don't think we have to do it alone. I think that's probably one of the biggest things. I don't know if I would be 217 pounds right now and feeling healthier than I have in a long time if I hadn't had a good group surrounding me and pushing me to do what I've done and continue to want to do. I enjoy it now, right? Like getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning is my routine. That's where I really want to be. And if I don't do it, I feel like I haven't done something. And reaching out and getting those people around you that can help. And if you don't have somebody that's willing to do that, look me up, Kevin Gallagher. More than happy to have a conversation. I'll get out and go running with you. John, if you need someone to come to Myrtle Beach and run with you, so you want to run more, let's plan it, brother. But that's where I'm at. You know, I hate running, but to have a group of people that are going to say, Kevin, get your butt off the couch and let's go run. It's huge for me. So I think surround yourself around people who can help you get there. If you don't know where you need to go, don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah.
So many good tips. And I'd love that in terms of, I mean, that's the name of this group, Raise the Average, right? In terms of being in a group with others and raising our at the average of each of us. Jim Rohn's famous quote, you are the average of the 5 people you hang around with the most. And I'm pretty grateful to be hanging around with you guys. And I know Michael's in this group as well. He's not able to run this race with us, but he's there, you know, for us to kick him in the tail as well. And I'll make sure to share this with him. Look, for me, and you touched on it, Kevin, I might have chosen that Raise the Average in that circle, but I'll have another different one that's been on my mind. Too many times in my life, I chose not to do something out of fear and wondering what was going to happen. And I think there's a way for us to face some of those fears and recognize, you know, is this really a fear of being injured or hurt or worse? Or is this really a fear of failure and a mindset that keeps us? You know, we've read a book together, The 7 Shadows. What are those things that are keeping us in our mindset from creating that? We need to have a positive mindset. We got to face that fear and then ultimately do it anyway in spite of that fear. I never would have imagined trying to climb a rope, kind of 20 feet or whatever that height is, just looking up and being afraid of heights. But again, being around in a group, guys like this, having goals and training and what that really means, and ultimately stepping up and saying, I'm going to do this, is something that's been very important. So look, listeners, I hope you found some value in this conversation today. I'm grateful for Kevin and Dave and Jeff and for the wisdom and light that they've shed in this conversation and been a part of in my life as well. I hope that you heard something that inspired you today to be the uncommon leader that you were called to be. And I also probably think that you know someone else who needs to hear this message. And I would ask that you share it with them so that they can hear it. We need to continue to inspire, encourage, and equip each other on this journey, you know, ultimately that we call life, so that we can have the impact that we want to have. Guys, thank you for joining me today on the conversation. I look forward to our journey in the next few months. Let's do this.
Thanks, John.
Thanks.
Thank you, John. We're grateful for you as well.